All right, next up, going to Iowa and Auburn, another 8-9 game here, looking for the honor of playing Houston, likely in the second round. Kind of two different teams, whereas I perceive Arkansas and Illinois as similar. Very, very defensive interior with Auburn, lighted up offensive team with Iowa. Who has the edge, Matthias, looking at a spread of, can't find it right now.
Auburn -1.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Kai, Matthew,
Yes.
to you.
I kind of like Iowa as much as I hate their defense. The reason is pretty simple. I don't think Auburn consistently attacks their opponent's weakness just because those guards can kind of go rogue. That's my concern. Wendell Green, Katie Johnson. Like, you got Jonah Ream up front. You got Jalen Williams, the guys that can probably punish this very brittle front line for Iowa. But I don't think they're going to do. I think they sometimes can get off script. I think that plays to Iowa's favor, especially get some long misses, some rebounds that lead to transition opportunities where Iowa's absolutely lethal. They can find cheaters there with space and the open floor. I lean their way. This one is such a live betting game for me, though, right? I feel like there's going to be some massive back and forth runs in this. So that's probably what I'll be targeting here. Pre-flop, this feels like a real crapshoot, though.
Yeah, this is a pillow fight of an 8-9 matchup, man. In my opinion, both teams are way overseeded. Neither inspire confidence. I don't think either will make a deep run. McCaffrey's never made a Sweet 16 in 23 years of coaching. Actually, 23 plus years of coaching, 25, 26, whatever. Iowa's really weak defensively, but Auburn's erratic. It's very possible guys like Wendell Green and Katie Johnson are cold, and Auburn's simply limited if they are cold. If they're hot, great team. If they're not, they're in trouble. Whereas Iowa's offense is very consistent, reliable. They're scary good, top 5 in the country offensively. Auburn has the athleticism edge. They have more length, but Iowa's so versatile on offense, I don't think it matters. They can shoot, post. Theoretically, Auburn has bodies that can check Murray. Broom's a good stopper for Bracha. It's just a tough toss-up here, Jim. Probably my least confident game, honestly, Auburn, Iowa right now. The total is kind of a toss-up as well.
Sorry, having some internet connection issues
That's okay.
over here. This one is a very big coin flip for me. I have a hard time getting a handicap angle going. You've got Big Ten versus SEC, two conferences I think are probably going to largely underperform, in the dance. Not a huge fan of that either. Tend to ride more with the defensive team, which would lead me to Auburn, but I'm not fully ready to trust them yet either. I'm going to let this one permeate in my brain a little bit longer before I make a wagering recommendation on it. All right, next up, Texas and Colgate. Raiders definitely a darling for everybody. They have just repeatedly won the Patriot Tournament. It's basically been the Colgate Invitational. They've been in this event repeatedly. All these guys have played in the NCAA Tournament. The Texas is hyper experienced too. It's not really the edge you want there. And man, is there an athletic gap between these two teams. Yeah. It is a gulf, a chasm, an ocean. Texas laying 13.5, 14. Kai, is this another one where we should be looking first half? What do you think?
Yeah, it's maybe one of the better 15 seeds we've ever seen in Colgate. They have a top 45 offense. They're number 1 in the country in effective field goal percentage, number 1 in 3-point percentage. Weirdly, 335th in free throw percentage. That one doesn't really add up. They move the ball really well. They take really good shots. And here's the athleticism point. We thought Arkansas, at least I did, would overwhelm them last year with athleticism. They held tough, man. They should have beaten Arkansas. Texas should overwhelm them. But give Colgate's big some credit. Records and Woodward are solid players. They are pretty strong inside. Counterpoint, Auburn beat him by 27 this year. So that kind of throws it out the window if you want to do the athleticism comparison. I don't really see how Colgate stops Texas, Matt. The Longhorns probably get whatever they want offensively. But again, Colgate plays smart. They do rebound well as a team defensively. It's a lot of points to lay against an experienced and smart team like Colgate. I do kind of lean their way as a 13.5-point dog.
I lean toward Colgate, but just to add to your counterpoint, I mean, remember that Arkansas game? It was basically a tale of two games. It was Arkansas comes out and sort of plays with its food, and then who was it? Gets the sky hook over what's his face, and then Colgate does the little man taunt, and then they basically poke the bear. The bear, Records. Yeah, Records does it, and then Arkansas like, oh, okay, you're gonna taunt us, and then they just unleashed pressure, and Colgate could not get a look. The rest, I mean, like I think if that game plays out over a full 40 minutes. Arkansas wins by 30. And if Texas comes out with that kind of defensive intensity, I worry that's what happens again. But if they don't, Colgate can run their stuff, they make shots, then you got to play catch up. And that's where I think, again, I like a first half angle here with the dog. But it's also a better live bet. I think you key in on how aggressive is Texas going to defend. If they're going to commit to, picking up, getting in jock straps, then I think they're a really good bet here as a favorite against the trendy dog pick. But I think I have to see it first. So it's a live bet for me, or first half Colgate bet.
Yeah, I kind of like Texas here. I just think the athleticism edge is too overwhelming. And like you said, once Arkansas really turned it on, that game went from 33-19 to 85-68, like a 66-30 swing. Like
Colgate did not cover that game. Yeah.
No, yeah, it was wild. They had a 19-0 run going into halftime. Last year, Colgate got maybe the dream matchup you could have, a super overseeded Wisconsin team that doesn't have an athleticism edge, and Colgate still couldn't get it done. Ended up losing by 7, right around that number, Kai. I believe it was like 7.5.
Yep.
Had a dramatic couple of late free throws in that game. It'd be a Texas lean for me there. Have not bet it yet, though. Still waiting on that assessment. Next up, Houston, Northern Kentucky. Shocked to see a little bit of money come towards Northern Kentucky on the early betting markets. It was open 20, definitely hit 19. Now I'm seeing 19.5 out there. Kai, we have a strong lean here. We basically raced to the podium to get a best bet in. So I'm going to let you take it because you beat me.
Yeah, I actually grabbed 18.5 at a book I saw here. It is 19 at Bet Rivers right now. I think it's a bloodbath. Houston's my best bet. I bet it closes over 20, especially when Sasser's announced in, which I expect him to be. Northern Kentucky plays a funky zone. It's super susceptible to offensive rebounding, and that is where Houston has the edge. Top 5 in the country in offensive rebounding rate. Kelvin Sampson practices with bubbles on the rim in practice, like all season long. They just do rebounding drills. It's a team built to rebound. They live for it. Northern Kentucky, 333rd nationally in defensive rebounding rate. Not great. I don't see how NKU scores either. They're experienced. They have a very good backcourt, but Houston is swarming, way more athletic, way tougher. Matt, I think it's a matchup nightmare for NKU. And the Horizon, as we know, have gotten blitzed the last few tournaments. So Houston minus 19 is my best bet.
I love it. I'll just play devil's advocate for those who want to hear counterpoints, not to be overly groupthinky here. Marcus Sasser, I think there's a real risk he does not play his normal workload or is not 100%. I think that's a notable thing here. You can certainly see them being up 20 at half and like, all right, Marcus, you can sit out. We got a game in 48 hours here. We don't need you tonight. Secondly, Northern Kentucky's guards are really underrated. Like another Horizon thing has been, we've beaten that into the ground, but their guards are really good. Like can make shots. Warwick and Vincent and Rhodes and Faulkner. I mean, like guys who can make shots off the dribble and from range. If you're a 16 seed trying to compete, you're going to need to make some tough shots. So there are some tough shot makers on this roster. And the zone, while it's going to be a haven for offensive rebounding, it still might be a wrench in Houston's general offensive rhythm. So I can see that actually going both ways. That's 3 feeble points in the favor of the North Shim. I will be on Houston myself. But if Northern Kentucky's hanging around with Houston and we're like, here's that Houston offense again, can't score. I think that's also could be coupled with the fact that NKU's hot and, maybe it's a closer game than we think.
Yeah, also probably going to be low possessions. That's one other thing in the advantage of the dog here. But I think the efficiency gap is going to be massive. Like we could see Houston go 1.1 points per possession because they get a million offensive rebounds, and NKU struggles to hit contested jumpers and is down at like 0.7 points per possession. Last time Houston was a super high seed and played a Horizon team was 2 years ago. They played Cleveland State. DeJon Jarreau got hurt immediately. But Houston grabbed 49% of their misses and won by 31. Like absolutely smashed.
It's going to happen.
It's like the most obvious matchup angle to me, where they will have 20 offensive rebounds if they have any desire to do so, and they rebound rapidly. So I think they will. Even in a low possession game, I like Houston. I will be betting Houston first half, probably for more than full game, but I will be betting both of those. I think they're both very valid angles.
Kai, you brought up the North Carolina, Texas Southern precedent in 2017. We talked about how it was most obvious, and it was 103-64. UNC grabbed 20 offensive rebounds, 49% of their misses. So, just a relevant precedent there. Yeah,
and that's one where that was a faster game, but I think we could see a miniature version of it because of the tempo here. All right, next up, Texas A&M versus Penn State. The Aggies laying 3. I think a lot of people are surprised they got a 7. People are saying the committee disrespected them because Buzz Williams was mean to the committee the prior year.
I love that.
Think that
I hope that was the case.
It's a goofy narrative.
It's garbage.
But Matt, I've been hoping that Tennessee or the Texas A&M's compact defense would face somebody that can knock down threes for a while. And now they face maybe one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, both in terms of volume and efficiency. And I don't think A&M's offense is going to really bother. I mean, they're athletic. They will get to the rim. They will seek fouls, but Penn State doesn't really foul. They're very disciplined. Shrewsbury's a great coach. Penn State's my best bet here. +3. I think the matchup is fantastic for them. Am I right? Am I wrong, Matthias?
I see two teams that are really undervalued, very underseeded, playing really well right now, and got screwed by being pinned against one another, especially when you factor in that both coaches are excellent. I will likely be picking the winner to beat Texas, as much as I have a renewed respect for Texas, but I do think both match up well with Texas in that next matchup. Kai, on this one, I don't know, man. Booty ball, Jalen Pickett. A&M certainly physical enough and tenacious enough defensively to at least counter that to some degree. I think they also have a pretty big advantage in their front line. Mm-hmm. And Buzz is a good tournament coach. I think he knows that's where they have an edge. That's where he should be trying to put his chips. If he commits to that, I like A&M on the nose, but I sort of see where Jim's leaning here. Just the fact that Penn State's playing so well, the way they can spread you and shoot it. So, and it could be a good look too.
I mean, this is the exact matchup we wanted for Texas A&M, right? A&M has lived playing bad shooting teams in the SEC. It's the worst shooting three-point conference in America, like we've said 100 times. What happens when they play a team that can shoot and lives by and dies by the three? That's Penn State, top 10 in the country in three-point shooting. They get hot in a hurry. They stay hot. They handle the ball. And Jalen Pickett, I know A&M is physical and has length. I don't think anybody can really contain him. He's so versatile, and he's an All-American. He's going to be the best player on the floor. A&M also relies on bully ball. They rely on offensive rebounding, attacking, getting fouled. Penn State has seen plenty of that style play in the Big Ten. They're a terrific defensive rebounding team despite their size, and they also play without fouling. Penn State's also one of the most experienced teams in the country. They play all upperclassmen. They're all really old. I think they're over a 4-point average on experience, aka they're all seniors plus. Give me the Nittany Lions here, +3. I totally endorse Jim's decision here.
Yeah. Another point there on the shooting thing within the conference, the free throw within the SEC foul rate's very high in that league. The refs call a lot.
True.
And so now you're playing Penn State, and if you're going to take away A&M's primary source of offense, which I think they're second in the country in percentage of points scored at the free throw line. Yes, second. Yeah. All right. You know what, Jim? I'm adding Penn State. I'm convinced.
You see Penn State's like, oh, you have size? Big deal. We play size every single day.
Yeah.
TJD.
Yeah, right. Lost to Purdue by 2. They beat Purdue once. Like they are capable of pulling off that upset. Wait, did they beat Purdue? Am I making that up?
I don't know if they beat Purdue.
No, they didn't. They got triple swept, but they competed.
Yeah, they competed.
Dexter Dennis seems like a great matchup for Pickett, but I'm with Kai. I think he's just too good and is almost matchup proof in the way he attacks and is a unique interior scorer as a guard. So yeah, Penn State +3, best bet.
We're going to Xavier, Kennesaw State, the Owls, one of multiple Owls in this year's field. Mm-hmm. But Kai, the Musketeers laying 11. Early tip on Fridays is at Greensboro Coliseum, where the ACC tournament was just held. The total's been bet down 1.5. That's actually my strongest angle on this one. I think it feels like a shootout. Surprised to see that money come in on the under here, but what's your angle on this handicap, side or total?
I scooped up a +12 in Kennesaw. This team is hungry, man. They play all upperclassmen. They brought the second most minutes in the country back from last season. They competed this year in the non-con with Florida, VCU, and Indiana. San Diego State killed them, but they competed with these other 3 teams. Xavier's definitely been playing a lot better lately. They can be scary. And Kennesaw State's not great at defending the arc, which kind of scares me. Xavier, they can get hot, 3rd best 3-point shooting team in the country. They will be in trouble if Xavier is hitting shots. But I think Kennesaw is good at just about everything on the defensive end and offensively. They play extremely hard. The size edge could be an issue again, but I believe in the Owls' gym tenacity and their ability to keep this competitive. So I like Kennesaw State here, +11.
Yeah, pretty good defensive rebounding team, which is important. The way Xavier's kind of reinvented themselves. Jerome Hunter, just a monster on the offensive glass. They've slowed it down, become a little more defensive since Fremantle went out. Yeah, I'm with you on Kennesaw. Kai, you mentioned getting blown out by San Diego State. That was one of those weird one-off, why is this team going across the country for one road game?
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm kind of throwing that out. The spot was really hideous for that. And the other step up in class, they were competitive. I watched that whole Indiana game. I bet Kennesaw that game. Finished a 14-point margin. Matt, it was not a 14-point game. It was like a 2-point game the entire way. I think Kennesaw competes here too. They've got talent on that roster. Like the recruiting level has been high under Abdul Rahim. Now they're really delivering. They can shoot it. They can compete in the paint. Just feels like a little bit too many points for me. I would lean towards the 11.5 with Kennesaw.
Yeah, so Sean Miller is 17-11 lifetime against the spread in the tournament, but recently he's lost 2 in a row. Buffalo, Arizona, not his finest moment. Fittingly, Arizona versus Alma Mater, 71-73, got beat there as well in 2017, and he was 1-4 the last 5 games before that. So it's, again, kind of like the Izzo thing. I think the perception of Sean Miller, yes, great coach, but he's not been some absolute tournament juggernaut against the spread. That's mostly, that's over a decade ago, when he was at Xavier and then early Arizona era. I still like Kennesaw. I'm with you, Kai. I think they can shoot it for sure. And Indiana fans, I think, saw Kennesaw play IU really, really close. Slash and kick. Slash and kick. I mean, I know there's no TJD in that game, but still, they can defend. They're athletic enough to stand hand in with the big boys, and they have that kind of equalizer with their ability to knock down shots. So I like the Owls. We continue with the playing game winner of Mississippi State or Pitt. They will be taking on Iowa State, and a potential matchup, Kai, between Iowa State and Mississippi State sounds absolutely disgusting. Yeah. Another early tip here, 210 Central out in Greensboro Coliseum. What's your angle here for either result of the playing game winner between Mississippi State and Pitt?
Yeah, nothing strong right now. Obviously, we'll see who they actually play. My hunch, my gut says Iowa State loses this game, no matter who they play. I love their defense, their grit. I just don't really trust this team really without Caleb Grill yet. We've only seen them beat Baylor. So I'm probably wait and see. I'm probably going to take either Mississippi State or Pitt over them.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think their fans are a little exuberant because they're like, look, we smashed Baylor twice, but I think just might be a real good matchup for them. Mm-hmm. Mississippi State can match their physicality. Pitt more of a similar to Baylor, where maybe that matchup works better for Iowa State. They can dominate the paint, limit the 3-point shooting with their length on the perimeter. So that one might be a little more matchup dependent for me, where I would be willing to back Mississippi State. But Otzelberg is a great coach, and that team can really, really defend. So I'm not going to emphatically go one way or the other yet. At least not until we see the playing game to get there.
I think I'm probably the biggest believer in Iowa State in terms of like their ability to make a second weekend run, just because their defense is such a sturdy foundation, and they have some kind of hot and cold shot makers. If they hit the hot wave, then obviously in a tournament do or die format, you can make a run. But nothing else profound here. Yeah, let's get to another tightly contested 6-11 matchup here. Perhaps the biggest coin flip of all of them. That's Drake, Miami, Florida. Everyone and their mother, Kai, is back. Right? 5-12. Oh, this is 5-12. 5-12. Excuse me. Yep. Everyone and their mother is backing Drake, and I am on that. I'm a part of that mob. I've already played Drake myself. Yes, the line is very, very low. Just looking at the programs and what you expect to see, but I think it's justified. I think Drake is, these two are basically equal. So I'm getting 2.5 free points on a neutral floor. That's how I'm handicapping this. Games in Albany been bet down to 2.5 at the opener. What's your look here, Mr. McKeon?
Yeah, laughably short spread, but I took Drake also. One of the oldest, most experienced teams in the country with a coach I trust, a fantastic defense, and a player in Tucker DeVries who can create his own shot and take over in late game situations. O'Meara is a question mark. If he's out, Drake is certainly a heavier play. Miami's guards are a problem for sure, but they can be erratic. And this Drake team isn't one to sort of like lay over and die. They won't back down. You're not going to get easy looks against Drake. You're not going to get second chance opportunities against Drake either. On the other end, Drake's offense definitely stagnates. If they aren't hitting shots, they can really struggle in the half court. You saw that a couple games against Missouri State. They're a good shooting team, but they don't have much creation outside of DeVries. Roman Penn can drive, but it's not reliable. Jim, both teams shoot the ball really well. Both teams have really good coaches, but I'm going Drake. I'm going Drake plus 2.5 here. Hey, maybe we'll see 3 on game day, but I doubt it. I bet it goes the other way.
I think it goes the other way too because of O'Meara. If he's not going to be able to play, or even is probably going to be highly limited, that's definitely at a point in Drake's favor. If you look at the on-off numbers, which aren't the end-all be-all, but Miami is 16 points better per 100 when he's out there. He limits them, or his absence limits them on both ends. I'm going to be on Drake as well. I wish I had gotten the +3. I'll probably end up taking the +2.5 here shortly. I'm at the MVC has been really, really tough in the NCAA tournament. It's a slow grinder. They're comfortable in postseason-esque atmospheres. Sure. Yep. We've had a couple of Bradley teams be really, really tough in the past few years. I was saying I was going to bet whoever won that conference tournament, whether it was Drake, Bradley, or SIU, any of those top 3 with elite defenses. I'm gonna roll with Drake here as well. The Bulldogs, even though Miami had success in the postseason last year, I think the Omier limitation is the one that tilts me towards Drake.
Love it. That's a consensus sweep on Jersey Drake. And the Indiana patrons will not enjoy this conversation, I assume, but IU is playing Kent State. Everyone's on Kent State. Everyone in the IU zeitgeist is sounding the alarms. We're going to get rolled by 20. My friend group texts are littered with, doomsday types of messaging. Kai, can you offer any words of comfort for my Hoosier brethren out there, or is this a loss to a really, really, really good Flash team?
Well, there's some support in the market for Indiana right now. I see 4.5 now at some places. Bet Rivers still 4. I love Kent State. The line does feel low, I'll admit, but Kent State's a defensive team and top 40 defense in the country. That's scary. They lost to Houston by 5 at Houston, lost by 7 to Gonzaga at Gonzaga. That pretty much proves they can compete with anybody in the country, but they are small. Indiana feasts on smaller teams. TJD, he's getting his. I love Chris Payton, but he's overmatched here. And Race Thompson just adds to that. Guard play, you could argue Sincere Carey might be the most reliable player on the floor, and Jacobs is very good. Hood Schifino is the most talented without a doubt, but he's a freshman, and freshmen cannot be totally relied on necessarily in March. I think Sinderoff's a better coach than Woodson if you're going for a coach angle. I'm worried about Kent State scoring consistently, but Sincere Carey can take over games against senior guards in March. I'm going Kent State, Jim. I would like to get 4.5 or 5. Hopefully it gets to 5 eventually. That's the way I'm leaning, though, for the Flashes.
Yeah, I agree the number is shorter than I wanted it to be, but you mentioned Hood Schifino's being a freshman. He's going to get the Malik Jacobs matchup, and Jacobs is the defensive player of the year in the MAC. He is a terrific glove on the perimeter. I think if you kind of cut off that Hood Schifino playmaking aspect to this offense, it's really, really reliant on TJD, who is obviously awesome and an All-American. But Kent State has bodies, multiple guys to throw at him. This isn't some smaller mid-major team that can't step up in class. Kai mentioned their efforts on the road this year. Matt, I just don't love the number. It does feel like at some point, if Indiana's up late, then you get a couple of free throws, you lose by 5 or 6, and it's a tough non-cover. But I think there is a great chance for Kent State to compete there. I will be backing the Golden Flashes at hopefully 4.5.
I completely forgot about the Malik Jacobs factor. I know he exists. I know he's a great player. I just forgot that last year, I think Carey almost won Defensive Player of the Year. He was their ball stopper and two-way stalwart. And I think it kind of wore him out. And this year Jacobs has kind of assumed that defensive stopper role, and Carey can still, guard, lock down people on defense. But I think he conserves more on offense. Either way, that's 2 dudes they can throw at Hood Schifino. And that's where this game will be won and lost, because TJD will get his inside. He will score. I think 30 is an easy level for him to get to. I mean, he dominated. Kent State got dominated by another big. I think Timmy had 30 something against him.
Yeah, he's the only reason Gonzaga won that game. He was awesome. Right.
And I think that's just, you take that same blueprint, apply here. That's going to be a good thing for Kent State, because the role players for IU have not been consistent. I think the injury to Geronimo late or middle of the year hurt. They haven't found a consistent third banana. There's been a different guy occasionally on night in, night out. But since the Purdue loss, IU has not looked like a team that's firing on all cylinders. So I think there are some cracks that Kent State can expose, especially with such a good coach and Rob Senderoff. But I'm sure there's also a chance IU wins by 20 and we all get laughed at for being the cute group that cuddles up to Kent State.